Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed Crypto live stream. Our host is having some technical difficulties here, so I think he's good now. I hear you.
You do? Oh,
Yep.
yes, you do. Perfect. Okay.
You're
That
good.
was, God damn it. I was going to do a turkey noise, and right when I did it, my freaking mic wasn't working. So, gobble, gobble, gobble. Welcome, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto live stream. Good to see you guys. We have a big show for you tonight. It is the week of Thanksgiving. Of course, we got a Thanksgiving special here for you. And of course, tonight we are talking about the best kept secret. We're talking about P-dai, some of the P copy tokens, PWBTC, the wrapped Bitcoin on PulseChain. And the poll question in there is, do you own any P-dai? Very simply, yes or no. We got a lot of people voting right now. So far, it's about 77-23 in favor of yes. So most people overwhelmingly do own at least some P-dai, but there is a lot to get into as far as that topic goes, and a whole lot more, which we're going to do a very special stream, I think, here for you on this holiday week. So smash the like on your way in to support Real DeFi, help support the channel. We appreciate you guys being here. And we're going to get into tonight why, it isn't just a matter of, oh, yeah, P-dai is a cool meme. It's still 65x away from getting to $1 or whatever. Is it just that, or are we talking about the difference between this ecosystem doing, reasonably well in the bull market to most of our the ideas that we've had about it in the past about price, or going into a stratosphere that we didn't even think imaginable because of this engine that we may have going here? So a lot of really exciting stuff to get into. I know a lot of people are talking about it right now. And of course, P-dai is doing really well, but it's more than just that. It's just some of the things that we're seeing come out about it now. We got Bitcoin and ETH on a slight pullback here over the last couple of days. All the people that aped into the market that aren't used to crypto are like, what the hell's happening? Now the prices are going down. But yeah, that's the way things go. So smash the like on your way in. Bitfinesse, John D, Enoch. Are you Enoch Thompson from Boardwalk Empire? And checks my pulse. Welcome you guys, Sam Horowitz as well. So thank you guys for being here for sure. Ewok, how are you feeling this fine Thanksgiving week in America?
Oh man, I'm ready for some turkey. Feeling good. Another day of work and got a few days off, so that'll be nice. Charts kind of pulling back and healthy, kind of as expected. When you start running up like that, crazy, it is good and healthy. We talk about that all the time, that we are getting a little pullback. It's only like 7 or 8%. People are getting liquidated like crazy. So either they've got pretty good leverage or overextended themselves a little bit. But it's interesting to see all the liquidations that happened. $600 and some million worth of liquidations happened just since the other day. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, doing well, man. Threw me off a little. We're streaming on Tuesday this week. So
yeah, true. I didn't even mention that. Yeah.
Everybody off a little bit. But yeah, that'll free up the holiday time a little bit more for us, for our families. So
yeah, you got to take care of that family. Crypto first, family second. But this week, I guess maybe put family a little bit ahead. But yeah, so that's why I didn't even mention that. But yeah, we are here on a Tuesday, so same time, same channel, likely next week, and we're going to be in a weird challenge the end of December because I think Christmas Day hits on a Wednesday. And yeah, it does. And so does New Year's Day. So we'll see how that goes. That's a few weeks away, though. So heading into where we're actually at, though. So Bitcoin, having a pullback right now. We're at about 91.6K. ETH pulling back as well at about 3,300. Although ETH is ever so slightly starting to close the gap, maybe against Bitcoin, which is nice to finally see. And, we've also seen like the altcoin index start to rise and stuff like that. You are starting to see some of these little indicators that the bull market with altcoins, Ethereum, things like that are about to take off. But over the last week, since we've been here last, we had Axis Live on, of course, last week, but like major pumpage. Bitcoin almost this close to hitting 100K, 90, went over 99 anyway. Virtually has hit 100K. If you're talking about the number psychologically, but yeah, ETH perking up again, just a bit anyway. So yeah, what do you make of this? It seems like, hey, we should be due for a pullback here with how hard it has run over the last 3 weeks, really, since the election. But again, so many new participants are coming into this market. People are asking about crypto again, with Bitcoin nearly hitting 100K, the election, all these things. And now it's like, what gives? What's up with this pullback? I thought it was up only now. So what do you make of this pullback here and of otherwise very bullish November?
Yeah, it's been bullish so far, obviously, since the 5th, which was election day. And again, I'll mention it like we've said many times. This pullback is healthy because when you start going green candles only, pretty much, it really tends to come down even harder just because it's not sustainable. There's no bases that are made. We've never been in this territory before. So honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea, even if it came the whole way back down to 75,000. Now, I don't think it will, but it could, because there's a whole big gap right in, between, I would say, 91,000 and 75,000, that needs to get a little bit of chop around. And I think that would be healthy. Do I think it'll happen? Well, I'm not sure with as bullish as it's been. Plus, you've got the holiday coming up where most of the crypto people will go spend some time with their families, knowing that they're the crypto person. They start talking. It just kind of creates a chain reaction, so to speak. Where a lot of people may throw a flyer and buy some crypto after the holiday, and that's usually what happens. And then Christmas time, it tends to pull back a little the same way. So yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is normal. The ETH ratio, which I had just pulled up here, was on a nice little ripper here. It went 0.032 all the way up to 0.037, just within a week or so, from the 24th to or I'm sorry, from the 21st to the 20. What are these? 26th. So 5 days. And it's pulled back now. Again, we're back to 0.035. But again, I think this is probably where we start to see this kind of creep in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ethereum, catch a little ground here on Bitcoin. It could chop around a little bit, and Ethereum could kind of get bullish. So that's what I'm anticipating on my end. So yeah, I mean, everything looks good. It's looking healthy. It's a healthy pullback, and again, I think we're going to see Ethereum make up a little ground. I would like to see it get back to 0.04 within a week or two anyway. So hopefully we can plan on that.
And that's really about the number that ETH was at in relation to Bitcoin right before that huge day. I remember it was like August 4th on a Sunday, when basically all economics throughout the world just took this gigantic dump. And since then, we haven't seen ETH get anywhere near back that ratio again. So, yeah, it is starting to perk up again. We're starting to see the others BTC charts start to come up. There's other like small cap US stock charts that are starting to go up. There's like little indicators happening now, in addition to the narratives that we've seen, obviously, of Trump winning and all these different things. Some bald man that is no longer going to be within the SEC here. So there's been so much damn news over the last week that I'm forgetting this stuff. Like Gensler's gone in 60 days, not even. So we'll get to that obviously as well. So many things that you can see. We are getting into a risk on market again, even though, yes, like inflation is still a big deal in the United States. We have a lot of shit like that going on, but people are going to want to start putting their money into these speculative markets again, I think. So yeah. Any final thoughts on that?
No, I mean, again, I think the conversations had at Thanksgiving will trigger another little movement here, whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin or maybe a little bit of both. Or I don't think it's quite alt season yet. We're seeing gains. We'll see small gains. The people like us that are in these ecosystems will talk to family about it. But, the overall general aspect of crypto is still going to see Bitcoin and Ethereum run for a little bit before we get our hardcore pump time. So, yeah.
I think you are correct there. Let's take a look at the PulseChain ecosystem, of course, which also has been doing really well over the last couple of weeks. So we do have Pulse up to 4 zeros and a 647 right now. We are dipping a little bit as we get on the air. Tuesday night, remember we used to do this on Tuesday night. We would get the customary dip every single Tuesday. So there you go. It's locked in. PulseX has pulled back a little bit over the last couple of days after it showed really it's all-time best strength against Pulse over the last few days, getting its ratio down below. It was at like 1.46 Pulse X per Pulse or something like that. So it's right below 4 zeros and a 4. Incentive token, quite a pullback as well, 244. It was up over $3 the other day. Hex is at about 2 pennies even, and EHEX at 00284 right now. So a healthy pullback after a really nice run up. But yeah, things have looked very bullish over the last couple of days. Some people have been like, in recent weeks, like, well, Bitcoin's running. How come our stuff isn't running? Like nothing else, we're not running and everything else in crypto is. That couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, all you got to do is look up and down some of these tokens that have been around like since the last cycle, even new ones as well. Like I look up and down like the top 50 and I'm looking at like Polygon and Polkadot and some of these coins. And it's like they're mired in, I mean, they may never reach their previous all-time highs, like, and who knows? I mean, like, obviously you could say the same about EHEX. We don't know if EHEX is going to get to 56 cents this cycle, but you could just say, well, it's a new hex, whatever. But a lot of these other tokens out there are really struggling, and there hasn't been like an alt season mania in earnest yet. So for the people that have been saying that, oh, it's just PulseChain, I think they're totally wrong. Not only that, but there's so many other things happening with PulseChain, which we're going to get to, obviously, that make it unbelievably unique to all these VC grift chains that are out there. So anyway, yeah, what do you make of where we're at on the chart here?
Well, it's funny. I mean, we've doubled since September. So, I mean, it's not blowing up like crazy, but again, that was our pretty much bottom. And, it's been a healthy rise. Everything is moving accordingly. And we know that. We have always talked about it happens with Bitcoin, it happens with Ethereum. And then, as these things slowly play in an upward trend, all the money, people take profits out of those main coins and go into altcoins. And that's when I think we'll see the influx of our crazy runs. Not to mention, once the price of Ethereum goes up, that wallet that may have a couple $2 billion in it could spend some money too. So, obviously that's not a plan. Don't rely on that, but just the general market in itself, that's how it works. It's been a while since we've talked about this topic, but the majority of gains are a very short time of this whole 4-year crypto cycle. Things happen very, very quickly, and it's just a matter of you being in the right place at the right time and putting yourself into a good position to kind of reap those rewards. People that sit around and complain that it hasn't gone anywhere. Again, it's doubled in 2 months, or a little over 2 months. That's not bad. Where are you gonna get that kind of return? Now, obviously, you had to buy the bottom, and but I still foresee a lot of good things coming. This is going to be a slower uptick until we get into the heat of next year. I'm thinking, at least until April, we could probably stay on this trajectory before things start to go a little bit more crazy. So, yeah, I mean, looking good. Pulse, they're all looking very similar. When you kind of zoom in on the current trend, they're all trending about the same. I think it's because of obviously the liquidity that's tied. Now, incentive has done more chopping around than anything. Let's look at it this way. Yeah, versus USD. I mean, yeah. So, it's kind of held flat, which isn't a bad thing, especially if it's one of those tokens that people are selling. So, I mean, there's clearly buyers there. It's just not as heavy as you'd like to see. People aren't, purchasing the incentive like they possibly could down the road once they realize how scarce it is. Let's take a look at Hex. Hex is one of the only ones that's a little bit different because it had a little bit more of a run up here.
Yeah.
So it's on definitely a different trajectory. You had your wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. This one could easily get to, I don't know. I think this third wave could probably get us up around 10 cents. It's possible.
Well,
So
clearly something's been going on with Hex that hasn't been going on with the other core tokens over the last couple of months.
right.
I mean, by
Well, there's
looking at that, yeah.
there's different mechanics with Hex too. I mean, there's the lockup feature where, the staking amounts are going up, the holder amounts are going up. It's still growing. So that all plays a part when coins get taken off the market and less of them are available for sale. That's going to happen with PulseX. Specifically those two, there's still a lot of liquidity out there. There's still a
Mm.
lot of tokens floating around by a lot of people that sacrificed. So you can't forget about that.
Yes, very true. Let me ask you a question. So, one thing I found interesting you were talking about was ink, and people buying it. There's a lot of people who I'd say probably the majority have never bought ink outright. They've maybe just been doing the
Mhm.
yield farming. Maybe some of them have. I guess there's probably a good percentage that aren't comfortable with doing any kind of liquidity providing, even if it is just the kind of basic Pulse X pool or something like that. Um, but I'm curious, like, what your ideas are about buying ink, just kind of as a I don't want to say like hedge necessarily, but I guess in a way to the subject we're going to get to here momentarily about, with P-dai and stuff like that. And the fact that we may very well have, actually, I think it's a virtual lock that as this bull market heats up and in the next few months and over the course of the next year, we're going to have some unbelievably crazy yield farms on PulseX that may resemble ones that were there early on. If you guys
Mhm.
were around in May of 2023, that got pulled pretty quickly, just as a little teaser for what may be there to come. But the fact that those pools could come back, and who knows what we're talking about, stablecoin pools, PRC versus ERC pools, whatever it may be, EHEX, PHEX, I don't know. There is incentive for the incentive token to be much, much higher in price to bring those folks in. So what do you make of the idea of buying it versus just farming it? Because that's something is like I don't want, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but some smaller time investors or people that may not have, hundreds of thousands of dollars in this or something like that, may not have enough that it even is worth it to do like the PulseX Pulse yield farm. So maybe they do want to just buy ink. So what do you make of the idea of buying ink and what its potential could be?
Well, the potential could be, considerable. You got to almost go back. And I don't know if it's fair to compare these or not. And I wish I had saved an image of what the prices were on testnet when it was running for quite a while, right? I mean, testnet was established for quite a while with incentive and all of that good stuff, and the prices got crazy. Now, again, it was play money. People weren't doing things; they weren't taking profits and selling and doing some of the things that you would normally do if it's not monopoly money. But the price of incentive got pretty crazy.
Hmm.
So when you figure if these yield farms are going to come about, right? So as the market matures, you're going to want to increase liquidity. People may realize that, okay, well, I've got this token and I got this one for free. Why not go over here and earn some of this stuff? Um, if you can increase the price of incentive, you don't have to really increase the percentage that they're making when they pair up. Now, the only ones that generate incentive are the ones that the chef contract assigns, right?
Hmm.
There is a V1 and a V2. V1 is the only one that really earns the incentive.
Right.
Um, the V2, you can place liquidity, you're just earning fees on that. So, there is the potential to reward people heavily if the price of ink goes up, just by pairing certain pairs. You increase the percentage in hopes that people will add liquidity and take care of what you can do, and then really all you've got to do as the behind the scenes kind of thing is make sure that the incentive price stays up there.
Right.
So it can be a very attractive offer for people that don't. um, that don't add liquidity, yeah, they're going to buy. I mean, I see people buying all the time. They're not huge buys; they're smaller buys. They're people that again don't want to take the risk of the impermanent loss. So yeah, they're gonna get some of it because they want a piece. So I think that that can be easily lifted because again the amount of tokens aren't that many. I mean the supply is not that large for incentives. So it's only been out for a little over a year. There's one per second that gets minted, or there's one incentive every second that gets minted. But as time goes on, according to the overall supply, that percentage kind of comes down. So you're going to have a little bit of both. You're going to have people buying, you're going to have people selling. Just remember that the OA doesn't really hold, any bag of this. This has been started organically from the beginning. So, with Cake Token, take a look at that and see how that went up in price. It did rather well. So I think you'll see similar results. I can probably go back and take a look and see what Cake did. And just for reference, Cake.
Yeah, because it is, similar. It's the yield token.
Sure.
For that DEX. So
yeah. So let's take a look.
Because in theory, you just assume that people are going to be dumping it. And it's like, is that actually the case, when these things happen or not?
Right. So I wonder how far back Cake goes.
If you're sharing, we don't see that screen.
No,
yet.
I know. I didn't share yet. So
all right.
Sure. Here we go. So wait, this is... Here we go. It got all the way up to $43. So, and that's when it first started. Now, obviously, when it launched, it was May of 21. It pretty much the beginning of the bear market. So it has only really gone down. But it's funny. It's 261. It's holding pretty close in price to where incentive is right now. So
yeah.
And if we go back on the incentive chart, share this instead. Get back to the incentive chart. Where was it at? I forget what the high for
like $80. I think it was like $80.
It was, but about 82 or 80, right at 80.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like it's very similar. So I do see this running up. I think we could easily get $40, $50, $60 by about the same period time, mid-April ish. So, and then look out for the parabolic after that. And that's whenever you start to see all these plays with the liquidity pools and the stable coins and the different things that are being added to possibly help that whole other scenario out where, you are rewarding people heavily for supplying liquidity. It also helps the price stay up there. So it helps people take profits at that point. It helps not hurt the chart as much too. So, is it a good thing to buy incentive? Well, I don't know. You're at $2 now. I said if it goes to even 50, whatever, that's a 25x. So I still think you're going to get the best gains out of Hex, out of most of this stuff, because there is no cap on it. There is no point where people just really, the more it gets popular, the more it gets locked up, the more that happens. With that, it creates scarcity. With a lot of this other stuff, you don't have the scarcity quite yet. I think it's going to take a cycle or two to get to that scarcity point. So, just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, it is an interesting game theory, especially with some of the stuff we're going to talk about here in a moment. So if you're buying ink, give us an ink in the chat. We'll we'll check that out. So appreciate you guys being here. Like the video if you're enjoying the stream so far. Yellowtail, Viper Styles, ING, Acid Thunder, Hexagon Michelle, Hex Girl, Vanilla the Hexagon. Welcome to you guys. Appreciate you being here. Let's get into the main topic right now. We're probably going to talk Gensler. There's a lot of interesting stuff to get to, but we have to talk about what is going on with P-dai right now, what's going on with PWBTC on PulseChain, and a lot more. So this obviously, you know, has been we've been at this for basically since the launch of PulseChain. I mean, over a year now, we've been hearing about P-dai. B-Roots was, I think, for many people, the first kind of person to be looking into this, talking about it, looking into the Atropa ecosystem and all that stuff. But we're seeing like increasing evidence now where a lot of people are getting in on this thing and think that there's a lot more going on than meets the eye, and believe that somebody is in the background that is making a lot of these moves right now. But it is exploding, and it's turned a lot of people who were total non-believers into believers, people that have thought that, you know, refer to it as a meme coin and stuff like that, into believers of seeing what may be going on and why some of the moves being made with P-dai are actually the reason that this ecosystem could pump harder than they ever imagined, you know. And that's where I'm getting a little bit, we'll get into this, but that's where I'm getting a little bit confused with some of the people that are still calling it like a meme coin and stuff like that, if they're not really looking into what's going on. Where even I saw Eric Wall the other day talking about it. I don't know if it was a troll or not, but he even talked about buying a bag of it. I want to defer before we get into like some of the nitty gritty with some of it. Ewok, you know, you were somebody, and you're not, you know, I'd say you were the majority actually, but you were somebody who was kind of poo-pooing it early on. You had a tweet actually at one point saying like, you know, for everybody who thinks that Richard would do this, why would he do it this way? He would never do that this way, and things like that. I kind of always just towed the line. It was like, whatever. I mean, I'll watch this thing go. I don't know. And I did buy a small bag at the beginning and then DC'd a little bit more later. But I'm interested more so like in your course of like where you've come with it though, because you went from feeling that to looking into it even more and being convinced of what may be going on here. And now, of course, we have even more great content from a guy like Decentralize Me on Twitter and on YouTube. I was binging some of his stuff today, but just talk about like your journey with it and where you kind of feel about the whole thing right now.
Well, it was it was definitely a lot of time, a lot of information, and things that you find along the way, all the rabbit holes you can go down. You know, I didn't realize that the maker contract was forked and taken over. Again, now I'm going to preface this by saying we still don't know that it's Richard. Richard has not come out and said it's him at all. There is somebody in the backgrounds that is messing with the maker contract. In fact, there's a proposal right now. I think you can go to pulsemaker.win, right?
I can check while you talk, but yes, there is a proposal going right now. Yep.
Yeah.
10 more days.
I'm actually going to pull it up just because the PulseMaker voting portal. So this is to add core PulseChain coins as a vault collateral to this contract. And currently there is no votes that oppose it.
Right.
Not one. Not
it's
one.
Like a couple thousand for, yeah.
100%, you know, but there's 9 days remaining. So, all right. So anyway, there's that. There's, that's kind of how my journey started was, well, there has to be something that pegs it. You can't just take a coin, get it to $1 and peg it naturally. Like it doesn't happen. There has to be something in place, and obviously that something is this governance, the maker governance, and that's what does allow things to peg to $1 because you've got collateral, you've got things backing it at 150%, whatever it is that you've got, collateralization of the token to give it value, to prop it up there. No matter all the dumpers, I thought for sure if it got to $1, people would just sell. Well, without something in place of this or like this, that would just tank the price. Obviously you can't add that much liquidity to keep it there. There's not enough in there unless somebody way bigger who has a very large exposure to the majority of things like the OA that could back things and actually peg it. So again, it's been a long journey up and down the rabbit hole. I don't know why he has tweeted things, 4 or 5 times he's made tweets regarding it. There's the fact that it was one of the very first tokens to have a icon or whatever. It had
Right.
it had the logo. So the more and more you read and see, you start to think, well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I might as well buy it at this price and get a little bit of it as a just in case. Now, again, if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't have anywhere near what I have in the core stuff, but enough to make a decent difference, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's been my journey. I just try to learn as much as I can. When you see all these things happening, and there was 20,000 of them, 20,000 died just minted. It was either today or yesterday, with the maker contract. So, there are people that have control of it. And again, one of the only people that I know that has the ability in the background to have control of it would be the OA team. So yeah, that's where I stand. Again, I'm still a little cautious. I don't like to tell people, hey, you should probably buy this token. But if they do their own research and they come to find out the things that I've seen and the things that I've learned along the way, what is it going to hurt to buy dollars at pennies? Even though we say the same thing about Hex, you could buy, but that's not going to stop, right? I don't think Hex is going to stop at $1. So that's my take on it, is if you're going to buy anything, if you're going to take just a chance, I would take the one that can actually go higher than $1 than to stop at 65x from here, I think it is.
Yeah, about right now. Yeah.
So yeah, but again, it can't hurt to have those stables standing by, and it's if you want to take a lottery ticket play at it, all for it. It's your money.
Well, that's more the point that I think people are missing. So you were just saying, like, I wouldn't necessarily be buying P-dai. I would want to buy the regular core tokens over that. To me, that's not even the argument anymore. Like, I actually agree with you at this point. I mean, now that if the goal is $1 and you see it getting to $1, a 65x is substantial, of course, and across investments in life. But I would still take my chances that Pulse and PulseX and Hex and these things are going to do a little bit better than that. But here's the thing. That's not even my point. Like, I don't care about that. People are getting way too caught up in, should I buy the token and stuff? I mean, I understand I made a poll question about that tonight, but this is a much bigger conversation. And that's what Icelander here just said. Assuming it's true, the idea is to rotate P-dai to buy the core coins. That's right. From the biggest whales who have P-dai and are running that contract. I mean, like, it's not even about should I buy P-dai and what's going to happen with P-dai. It's that I think people should realize we have, and you laid some of them out, Ewok, like, more evidence than ever that whatever is going on with this may be doing something for this ecosystem that would be impossible without this. And that's what I think people, rather than like shitting on it or thinking it's like a B-Roots shill or a meme coin and stuff like that, it's fine. You don't have to get exposure into it or whatever. That's totally fine. But it may be pumping the bags that you hold so dear harder than you ever could have imagined, is what the point of all this is. This is like, we are potentially talking about. This is why when I saw streams from like Coexist and Steven in the past and some of these guys that have really been within this Atropa and P-dai ecosystem and stuff, I could sense that they were on the verge of saying stuff like this. Is it's like the grand plan could look like, PulseChain is a crypto utopia. I mean, you've got this organic stable coin that arises. if you believe that PWBTC gets to where Bitcoin is right now, and if you think Bitcoin is going to go to 200K or 240K this cycle or something, you've still got over 100 X's there. It's pumped, beyond belief over the last few days. But I'm willing to be on a stream right now and say, like, I am pretty bought into this idea at this point, and I believe that whether it's RH or somebody else, there are smart enough people in the background that have some amazing wild ideas. And you laid out some of the breadcrumbs and the evidence that we've had. Richard Hart tweeted about the P-dai chart multiple times, talked about how far up it had gone at that time. It's up over a 10,000x now. There's something going on. I mean, I'm 100% convinced of it. And I don't understand why anybody's salty or angry about it if they are still at this point. I literally wouldn't even buy P-dai right now. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm more talking about, I've never been this bullish on this ecosystem before until I started to really look into this stuff. I've always been bullish, but literally we're talking about a potential crypto utopia land where everything that is the best of everything to do with DeFi lives on PulseChain.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now, so my thought on this rotating into P-dai, at what point does it peg? That's why, my theory, and you just said it right now, you're not telling people to buy P-dai. I still think the play is to buy the core tokens now, because at what point does P-dai get to $1, if it does? And how much in gains have you missed out on, till you get to rotate into the core tokens? Now, the OA rotating into those core tokens, because now they've got there is, I forget, $12 billion worth of DAI out there. I forget what it is, the amount that the OA is supposed to have, but I don't want people to miss out the gains of getting things now at a penny that can go much higher than to wait till it's already at 30, 40, 50 cents, possibly until P-dai pegs. Then you're buying in at 30, 40, 50 cents rather than you've missed out on 30x that you could have gotten if you bought now. So, that's where I stand. And that's why I still, I don't want to push it as a narratives to say, well, if you buy it, then you can transfer it into or rotate into the core coins at that point, because you're giving up a lot of gains. So there is the theory of, I don't know if you put, I forget who said it. Oh yeah, you have it up now. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, he's firing off some good ones. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the rinse and repeat thing where you can collateralize your maker, mint more, cash out. There's going to be a lot of ways to take profits, hopefully, this cycle that we didn't have last cycle with Hex. There weren't a lot of ways for people to cash out without hurting the chart. And I think what this whole thing is going to do is to stabilize things so much more. You're going to have liquid loans, and you're going to have the other contracts. I forget. It's skipping my mind right now, but the other contracts where you can do things like take a loan out and only collateralize at 10% if you want to, and cash that out and let it liquidate if it does. Again, you're only going 10%, plus you're not hurting the chart, right? Because you didn't sell your pulse for doing that. You took a 10% haircut, which if you tried to sell a huge bag anyway, the slippage could be way more than that. So there's going to be ways, and this is just yet another way for people to take some profits to rotate out without hurting the price of things. And I think it's going to stabilize the whole market. Like you said, create a utopia where, people may not have to leave. You may not have to bridge back out. There's going to be a lot
California.
Exactly. So it's just one of the things that could definitely help secure the ecosystem, so we don't see the 90%, 99% dips that we saw last cycle. So yeah, it's got a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, it's just such an eye opener right now. And like I said, obviously, shout out to Decentralize Me. I know he doesn't make tons of videos, but he has like a 1.5 subs, 1.5K subs on YouTube. I think everybody should go check out Decentralize Me on Twitter and YouTube. I mean, he's the man with all this. And it's kind of crazy. Like his YouTube videos, I don't know if you got this vibe, but it almost gave me like fast food restaurant training video vibes. You know what I mean? Like I'm not criticizing it. Like they're very well done. I mean, it's very straight to the point, nearly scripted, very well done, is all I'm saying. I don't know who he is. I don't know if he knows anybody or where he comes from, but yeah, his stuff is very educational. And if I were somebody that wanted the inner workings of what may be going on to be out there by a third party to educate people, I don't know that I would pick anybody better than Decentralize Me. So yeah, he's doing a really good job. Let me just see. There's so many angles I want to approach.
I think he should have stuck to the educational part more than the matchmaking portion at the end of that video. That was
one I sent you.
That was kind of cheesy, but it was funny.
It was so
good. This he also said, did you see this? The RH may not even with this whole thing, RH may not need to use the ETH treasury to pump anything. He could leave it on the bridge and provide P-dai liquidity. You want in bridge, you want out bridge. So yeah.
That's another thing. Like how many, and that goes to what we've been saying for a long time, is how long have we been saying that everybody that is, maniacally tracking the that $3,900 ETH buy and the sacrifice funds and stuff like that, $170,000 ETH or 170,000 ETH, that may not be all the capital that's available to the ecosystem. And yeah, I think that's just the start of it. Not only that, but like some people were even talking about the idea that buy at 3,900 followed up by some tweets that we also saw from RH around that time may have been purposeful about like buying tops and things like that. There's been a lot of clues, and I know some people are like, you're a dumbass, you're reading into too much and things like that. But I mean, it's not like the guy's out here streaming every day like he used to or anything. And it's, and it's not like he doesn't have, corrupt SEC thorn in his side that isn't, so, I mean, you got to look for other ways to communicate as well. And I've always kind of, compared that guy's tweets to deciphering like Pink Floyd lyrics and stuff. And it's fun to do, frankly. So,
yeah. Well, and then somebody, I forget who it was, Coffee, mentioned on one of his latest streams that it was with Corey this morning, about how Richard can be very, there's a video of him saying, stop speculating on stuff unless I say it, but it's just so confusing, I guess, but some of these things you don't want to say, you can't say what you're doing, because again, he's got that thorn in his side, where if he did tell people what was really up, that could be considered manipulation, right? So he's in a tough spot at this point. I think when he said that back then, he was still streaming. There was no case going on. He was always very careful with what he said, but just how he said that whole, don't read into birthdays and think this or that is going to happen on this day. And I think that's what that whole point was about. He told people to go use their time wisely. So, you just get a lot of mixed messaging. And until the founder speaks with 100% truth or falseness, I guess all we can do is speculate. So I'm going to be on the side of, hey, if it goes up, it goes up. If it doesn't, it's not going to hurt me. So
there's no real reason to hate on any of it, because everybody's bags pump infinitely harder.
Yeah.
If it's what's going on, you don't even have to have access. Now that we are knowing what we know, or have seen what we've seen here, it's not even so much about buying P-dai or believing in P-dai or whether it doesn't matter what you think or what you believe.
Sure,
something's going to happen one way or the other. And if you're a part of the ecosystem, you're going to go as the ecosystem goes. So, Yeah, at this point, the whole thing about buying P-dai isn't even really part of it anymore. But I'm curious, like, what do you think are some of the things that we could see if all of this begins to line up and we see it being true? I mean, we could be seeing, like, again, the E-dai, P-dai yield farms. We could see PRC20 and ERC20. Like, what if not a lot, but some of these PRC20s, for whatever, communities want to, like, start to actually get to parity with their ERC20 counterparts, like something that we haven't talked about for a year. Everybody kind of gave up on world's largest airdrop. People quit talking about it. All the PRC20s like tanked and nobody gave a shit anymore. What are the chances of some of those actually reaching parity? You can come over and provide the liquidity for them. And then on the back end of that, because you had some thoughts on it that I found interesting the other day, is the chances of PWBTC like that actually matching the BTC price eventually, which would actually indicate like a really good, even with how much it's run up, but potentially really good buying opportunity with PWBTC on PulseChain. But you've talked about like it having admin keys and the security of it and stuff like that. But what do you think like those yield farms and stuff could look like? Because it seems like it's just this like three-pronged attack of like, you establish P-dai, people start there's incentive to want to earn incentive token by providing liquidity. Incentive token goes up. Everything goes up. This is why I keep saying like a DeFi crypto utopia, like everything literally right here. Like, hey, even Bitcoin is over here. Literally come over here and get better yield on your Bitcoin than you could anywhere else in the world. I mean,
well, hey, that's the one problem, right? Is with the Pulse wrapped Bitcoin is the admin keys. So when you do try to unwrap it, actually, I wanted to address this first.
Okay.
If it does peg, a lot of this shit can go into effect a lot sooner. The contract can go live. The arbitrage bots can take over, and maybe they're not ready yet. Maybe that's why I don't think there's really a front run. I think what you need to do is you need to get it to $1. That's the first step. Before anything else in the plan or close to it, to where arbitrage bots can kind of take over. The maker contract can go live, where people can actually mint, loan, collateralize, things like that to mint more. So it's possible that it's not ready yet. I don't know that it would really hurt to front run it. So I don't see how it's a bad thing unless you're not ready to do what you want to do. So that was just my thoughts when I saw that comment. So, but
what are your thoughts on PWBTC? Because you've talked about that, yeah.
Yeah. So there is counterparty risk, right? In order to wrap Bitcoin into Ethereum, there are admin keys where I forget what it is. Ren.btc was one of the sites where you could wrap to get over to Ethereum. And then you're copying, basically you're copying a copy. So you're copying a wrapped version, which, it just adds a whole nother layer of counterparty risk. It's a great story. And it's one of those stories to maybe when Richard first put those pools out there, or whoever, the OA put the pools out there to bond liquidity, like Pepe. I think Pepe was one of the ones that was there for a very, very short time to get people to try and bridge their real stuff over. Maybe when that backfired or just didn't go as planned, people didn't seem to care about those free copies. I think it's going to be a different story in the bull run. I think when it launched, it wasn't the right timing for that type of thing. Things were still going down in price. People didn't want to take a chance, probably wanted to exit a lot. So they may now have a free copy and no longer have that Ethereum side, because they could have gotten rid of it or sold. So I think it could entice people to kind of come over. at a lower price, kind of get these things evened out. There was a BTC farm early on as well, so that was one of the things that was in there, along with Pepe, and there was a couple others, and I really don't remember. I just remember Pepe being there.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of an experiment, or here's what could happen later down the road type of thing. So, I just caution you to not think that you're going to be able to take your Pulse wrapped Bitcoin, bridge it over into Ethereum, and then unwrap it on the BTC, on the main, obviously on that chain. So
Right.
I just want people to understand that they have to. There's too many contracts involved to do that. So you would just end up with I don't even know how you would do it.
What it would actually be. Yeah.
EWPBTC it'd be a weird wrapped version of a wrapped version of a wrapped version. So you're almost wrapping it 3 times to get it. So just keep in mind, you're not going to be able to cash it in for real BTC if you want to do that. Now you could sell the value, bridge that value over, and then buy it if you wanted to. But again, there is counterparty risk when it comes to wrapping and unwrapping Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind. But it's a good story, man. These are all great stories, right? It's Richard knows how to market. He knows how to get people's attention. He knows how, he's been talking about having things up his sleeve for a long time. This could be part of it, and rather than just launch a Bitcoin or launch a stable coin that has a bunch of collateral behind it and just have it pegged, he's always talked about making millionaires. So he wants to create a new whale generation is what he really wants to do. And I think that's how he gets his glory, by creating a ton of people that are very, very wealthy so that they can do good with their money. So, yeah.
To that point, something that I think Decentralized Me has been saying, how many times has RH gone on and on and on about not only, wanting the glory and wanting to create this kind of blockchain and things like that, but also help to enrich folks who have the same values that he does, and if you've got all these people, I mean, clearly, if you bought Hex back in the day, if you bought PulseChain and PulseX and stuff and have been here since the launch and are diamond handing it still, you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, you obviously believe in these principles. It's more than just, I mean, obviously you want the gains, but it's also the principles and the values. And you wouldn't go through this kind of shit if not for that. Like, he purposefully wants people to be shaken out to be able to take up the winners with him at the end, and if this whole thing pans out and we get that DeFi utopia on PulseChain, I mean, I don't even know what to say. It literally like leaves you speechless what this thing could look like by the end of it. I mean,
sure. And you bring up a good point, because you got to picture this. Okay, all these people get in Hex early, end up with a lot of value. Well, what happened? Sacrifice. A lot of that captured a lot of value that didn't get sold. And then the second sacrifice for PulseX, another capture of a lot of value that didn't get sold. And that was just the first cycle. So what is it this cycle? How do you almost have to create ways to keep value in the system, reward people well for believing in what you're doing. And I think that is a exemplary of what he's done. So, it's pretty cool that, you're rewarding people for believing in what you're doing by keeping value in the system at the same time. So, I think there almost has to be, people have speculated on, well, there may be a wallet sacrifice the next time. Well, I don't know that that's on the top of his priority list. I think he wants to build a better ecosystem. And there are plenty of tools out there, Internet Money, Rabby. There's plenty of tools. MetaMask still works. Although I hear a lot of people complain about it. But again, there's sufficient tools out there to do what needs to be done to where the wallet doesn't really come into play this time. I have a feeling it will be stablecoin, right? How can you benefit people and that's to give them a place to get into stable coins where you don't have to sell. So yeah,
Right.
I think oi red squirrel. So I think that's something that needs to be thought about this cycle, is how do we allow people to enrich themselves at the same time keeping value inside the system. Yeah.
And um and to your point about like sacrificing for a wallet, I think people are over the sacrifices too, because a lot of people took after the PulseChain
Till it
sacrifice
happens.
and yeah, and did their own sacrifices, like for liquid loans, and everybody's like very upset about different sacrifices and things like that. So
Well, so I mean, those people generated a lot of money and then they didn't
right,
see any return. They expected something. And then that's problem with the sacrifice, where when you expect something in return,
hmm
um, and you don't get anything and the price is shit for it, well, you get a bunch of upset people. But
plus
yeah.
they probably sent in too much. I mean, that was a problem you and I never had because we never felt like we sent in too much for any sacrifices. So
Well, yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, because people talk about like, well, by the time P-dai gets to $1, like it's all over or whatever. There will still be people when this pans out buying P-dai, as in getting the dollars of it to do the yield farms. I think that the yield farms will be so
Yeah.
insane by that point, and as far as like the APY they could be paying, how high the ink price is at that time, there will
Mhm.
still be people wanting to get P-dai at that price. So
Yeah. Even at
um,
85 cents, 80, once it gets
yeah,
to, if it happens to get to 85, 90 cents, there are people that have a lot of money that will take 10 cents on every dollar. Happily. They'll do it over and over and over again. So
right.
yeah, I mean, at 1 cent, it's probably risky for a multi-millionaire to go in and buy some, but at 90 cents, I I think it's probably in their best interest.
Yeah.
They'll take a free 10 cents on the dollar every day of the week.
Right. I do have one final thing on this point, because we were talking about the PWBTC, and you made great points about like, the counterparty risk, and if you would bridge any of that back over to Ethereum, what you could be encountering. However, that doesn't really stop people, obviously, from buying and speculating on the price of it while it's on PulseChain, and you can
Oh,
still sell the token eventually on PulseChain. Because
right.
if you're, P-dai has been a speculative stable coin. Now the gains are the whole way down to, you're 65x away to $1. But with PWBTC, we don't know where Bitcoin is going this cycle. There are many, Richard Hart included, kind of, that sound like they think it could go into the $240,000 range. And if you believe that, now PWBTC's run up quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. And luckily, I had those bags packed already too. But you're still 150x away from that price at this moment if Bitcoin would get to 250K this cycle. So there's still room to go there. You don't know where it's going to go. Obviously, it's highly speculative, but if you could see it get to where the BTC price is, there's still double the opportunity potentially with PWBTC than there is with P-dai right now.
Yeah.
So there's that out there too. So
Yeah, I didn't pack any bags of that. I'll be honest with you. I didn't
yeah,
buy any of the PWBTC.
I don't think many did. I think it was probably more of an afterthought. I grabbed some at $80 and then a little bit more, I think, at 290 here right before it took off recently. So we'll see. I mean, even honestly, even if people are still aping in right now, I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but I still
Right.
think that that could be a very good opportunity as well. But
Yep.
at this point, again, you just have to make that argument with yourself, because eventually it's like, okay, if these vehicles are, I think, going to be used to pump the core ecosystem, uh, do I think that those tokens still have enough room up that they would surpass where the core tokens are going to go? And in P-dai's case, I'm not really willing to take that risk any longer. I mean, I don't really think that it could outdo what the rest of the ecosystem is going to do at this point. So,
Sure.
yeah, but
Good
man,
stuff.
yeah, I mean, you can get lost in this stuff really easy, and it just
Yeah.
there's more out there now than there ever has been. But either way, it's a super bullish time. So,
Yeah.
um, Yeah, and look at it, revisiting the poll again, it looks like 65% of the folks do at least own some P-dai that have voted on the poll tonight. That's 106 votes, so pretty much everybody watching or a little bit more. If you guys are enjoying the stream, do us a favor, hit the like. We got 116 here right now and about 50 likes, so do us a favor for Thanksgiving, for Real DeFi, for P-dai, for the PulseChain crypto DeFi utopia. I'm going to copyright that. Like the video. We appreciate you guys being here. We probably got to talk about Gary Gensler, not to come down on a real negative note, but I mean, it is a positive note because he's gone.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say, not very negative.
Yeah, so he announces officially last week. I mean, we figured there was like a 90% chance because it was already a leaked document where he sounded like he was giving his goodbyes or whatever. But yeah, he announces, I guess it would actually be Trump's inauguration day, January 20th of 2025, that he will be officially stepping down. It was really funny because he did a post and then said it was going to be a thread, and then it ended up being 2 tweets where he basically just says nothing. So I think the guy probably wants to hightail it out of there as fast as humanly possible because he knows some things that could be coming. The SEC is being sued by like 18 different states because of their shenanigans with crypto and stuff over the last few years. So yeah, he's gone. And we've talked before that this is kind of a typical thing whenever administrations do change in the White House. But how big is this? And how much validity do you give? We've seen Trump float out Teresa Goody Guillen, who is a former, used to be involved with the SEC. She's a pro-crypto lawyer. She's been tweeting a lot about the subject over the last couple of weeks. But I think Trump's been floating her name as a potential new head of the SEC. So what do you make of Gensler stepping down? How much does it mean? And then we'll even get into where does it go with the RH case? Because, you know, that is still ongoing as well. And could it impact any of that? But what are your overall thoughts?
Well, overall thoughts are it couldn't be more bullish. I don't know if you saw this comment earlier, and I didn't hear this until he just mentioned it, but the courts ruled in favor of Tornado Cash. I didn't know there was closure on it. Go ahead and look that up there while I
you go ahead and talk. I'll look it up.
But no, it's as bullish as it could be. Getting him out of there, getting the rest of the
Okay,
there are
finish your point. Finish your point. Then I got something huge because RH just tweeted about the Tornado Cash thing.
Oh, nice. So, yeah. Well, it couldn't be any more bullish. And honestly, the way what I think may happen is if the judge takes her time to decide this, and we do get into the new year and we get into January, before we hear anything. I think they could possibly dismiss a lot of ongoing cases right now, ours being one of them, and they just kind of start on a fresh sheet of paper and say, "Look, we're not going to the overreach has been ridiculous. We're going to drop a lot of these cases," which I could possibly see happening. Again, I couldn't be more bullish on him stepping down. You know, when he first made that statement, it's been great serving and all this other nonsense. Everybody's like, well, he's gone. Well, not yet. He's not gone yet. So, I mean, but then they did come out with the date and all that good stuff. So yeah, no, I'm very happy. You know, the changing of the guards needed to happen. I've been saying it for a long time. You need to get people in there that want innovation, that want to see people building this stuff, and have the United States be a front runner in the development of a lot of these things, right? I mean, we could be leaders. There's a lot of smart people here, and then take care of the taxes, where you make the tax situation, not such a burden to people, and capital gains and things like that being such a problem with the IRS. So there's a lot of things that could happen. There's a lot of positive things that can come out of this, and I think that's just starting to clear out the SEC, get clean house, start over, and have a different outlook on these things. And I hope we can set a good precedent by doing that. Get the right people into place, and go ahead with what did RH say?
I agree. I just sent it to you. If you wanted to pull it up, I'll go ahead and start reading it. So yeah, shout out you guys in the chat for pulling out the Tornado Cash thing, because this is breaking news, really. Richard said Circuit Judges Jones, Willett, and Engelhardt of the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit have struck down the administrative state sanction of Tornado Cash. Contrary to the department's arguments, the immutable smart contracts are not services. So even when we consider OFAC's regulatory definitions, the immutable smart contracts are not property because they are not ownable, not contracts, and not services. We decline the department's invitation to judicial lawmaking, revising Congress's handiwork under the guise of interpreting it. Legislating is Congress's job and Congress's alone. Accordingly, we reverse and remand the district court with instructions to grant Van Loon's partial motion for summary judgment based on the Administrative Procedure Act. So there you go. And then there's actually more snippets from the actual document and a link to the entire document. So, I mean, this is the first time reading this. So what do you make of that? I'm trying to see other news on it here as well. But
the first thing you unpack from that is the whole you can't sue software.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and I think that is huge, right? Again, you can't sue the sidewalk. You can't, there's a lot of things you can't do. Right. Now, I wonder, is the developer still in jail? And, you know, I don't know if he's still being held or if this will just, you know, technically get him out and be released. That would be the next thing that I would want to look into. But yeah, I mean, this is as straightforward as it is. You know, you can't sanction protocol. So
exactly,
it's free. It's out there. There's nothing you can do. Now, I do wonder what will happen because Coinbase and I know a lot of other exchanges had blacklisted people that were using it. So what happens there? Do those blacklists get lifted? We'll have to see how this all plays out. I mean, obviously, this is early in the story because this is just filed today. I don't know what time this came out, but
literally within an hour, I think.
Yeah.
Just so looking over Twitter here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the dominoes are falling in our favor, as good as they can be. This is just another feather in the cap here toward the free and fair markets of software. Again, can't sue software. So, yeah.
This is huge. Yeah, this can't be understated. And thank you guys in the chat for shouting it out. There's a lot of people tweeting about it right now. And as far as I guess his name is Roman, the creator, getting out of jail, it looks like it is a different topic. So that's other things to be worked out. But as far as this right now, right off the top, it talks about smart contracts and they're not services. I mean, that is 100% relevant to the Richard Hart case with the SEC. So for Tornado Cash, which has been demonized as, you know, the big bad out of all these different smart contracts and stuff like that because of being a mixer and stuff, that's a huge hurdle to get over, you know.
For privacy alone. I mean, it's just one of those things that people can now have privacy when they want to send transactions. And, you know, Richard was always very a big proponent of that too. If I send somebody money, if I want to pay my employees, I don't want them to see what other people are getting paid. I don't want my purveyors to know who I'm paying for different services or whatever. You know, it's the privacy thing. So that is huge. Yes, they did come down on it because of money laundering and things like that. But again, can't sue software. So I did want to address Jofus here too, because we are very familiar with OX Coast. We're a fan of the CST stable coin. So yeah, but thanks for bringing it up for everybody. Old Glory Bank has been really good. I've used it many times, and transactions are in and out there with minutes, within minutes. I haven't had any issues in or out. Very good. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up for everybody.
We were starting to touch on this, but for Viper Styles talking about the Tornado Cash thing, will this help our suit for RH? I mean, like you kind of alluded to, Ewok, I think it's directly relatable. I mean, they are different lawsuits, but right there, the very first line in that is that you're suing code. You're not suing a service. You're not suing an entity. You're not suing a business or anything like that. It's immutable code. So I think that element of it, 100%. I mean, I think that that does not mean that the case is going to be dismissed. I mean, I kind of don't think it will just be dismissed. Maybe parts of it, like we've talked about before, but that doesn't mean that Richard doesn't ultimately win the lawsuit. I mean, we both have vehemently thought that that's what's going to happen pretty much all along. So, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
what's left,
the judge
man?
will see this. Yeah.
What's left, right? We've already thrown out the whole misuse of funds, right? She's already pretty much said they're his funds. He can do with them what he wants. People got what they wanted, or people got what they kind of sacrificed for. There was a product delivered, all of that good stuff. They've already gotten rid of the Hex as an alter ego. So
they got rid of it themselves.
They pretty much did. What's left? I mean, do we even need jurisdiction at this point? Because right here, you've already got some of the, most of the issues. Yeah, the judge can totally look into this and use it as precedent, right? Right here, the immutable smart contracts are not property because they are not ownable, not contracts, and not services. So that's with Hex anyway. I can't say that Pulse and Pulse X are immutable because they're technically not, but either way. I mean, she basically said that he could spend the money the way he wanted to. It wasn't promised that anything was going to be done with it.
Right.
There isn't much left. That's why, again, I think my theory is if the judge waits long enough, this whole thing could just get thrown out.
Yeah. Yeah, this is huge, and it's very interesting that the Tornado Cash thing came out right when we were talking about Gensler here. So you're right. Every domino is falling. I mean, it starts, Trump winning the election. Now the SEC is crumbling. In terms of crypto, we had the XRP ruling obviously last year. Now we have this coming out. I mean, this is incredibly bullish, like for our case directly, but bullish for the entire space of crypto. I mean, this is gigantic. Yeah. And just shows that next year might be absolutely epic beyond our wildest dreams. Things are really lining up for it. So, I looked a little bit into Trump mentioning Teresa Goody Guillen, I think is her name, as the replacement. I don't really know much more about her, but she does, from looking at her Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, she definitely seems like a pro crypto person that would not be attacking the industry. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that or anything else other with.
I literally know nothing about her. I haven't done any research on who she is or where she came from, but yeah, no, this is, anybody is better than what we've got now. You know what I mean? So you could put a clown in there and it would be way better. So that's what we've already got. But
yeah, I will miss the Gensler clown picks.
I will miss the memes. I will miss the memes. He's very memeable and easy to pick on. But I won't miss the nonsense at all. The court hearings where he's only talking in circles and not answering questions and things like that. So. But,
we're basically going from an administration that attacked crypto at every single turn, trying to push it elsewhere, to one that at the very least is leaving it alone, if not actively promoting it. You've got Trump with pro crypto people in the cabinet and things like that. Now there's a lot of amazing things happening. So doesn't get much better.
The only thing that I would regret is if it does just get thrown out. We wouldn't get the satisfaction of basically telling people that call them scammers or call us scammers, anybody that is involved with any Richard Hart stuff, that even the government didn't think we were scammers, right? Because we won the case. That's the only negative that would come out of the case being dismissed totally. But I really don't care what they think. We've been around for 5 years at this point. If they think we're scamming, it's probably one of the longest term scams. I mean, I don't know. I think Enron went for quite a while, but come on, most scams are over within a year and a half tops. Well,
the scam's going pretty well for us so far. So I'm a fan of the scam. Yeah,
scam to the upside. I don't know how many people will complain, but
yeah, I love it. Well, I'll tell you what, we had a couple other things that are not major. I would rather push them to next week because we've gone real deep tonight. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Just I at this moment right now, I've never felt more bullish about this ecosystem and what we could see as we get into 2025 here. And, it's why still, I mean, even though we've seen this pumpage, there's still room at these prices to throw, any bit of fiat if you're so inclined that you want to into whatever you want, because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be buying these tokens at any moment that I possibly can. So,
Is there a point you stop?
Yeah. I don't think it's close yet, though. I mean,
don't think we're that close either to that point.
Yeah, because Pulse is still under sack rate. As long as any of these, as long as Pulse and or Pulse X are under sack rate, I am definitely going to be buying them. And I mean, with this stuff with P-dai now and what this narrative is starting to look like, and how I personally, anyway, think that there's a lot of validity to it, I may have just upped where I would be buying some of these tokens up to. I mean, you don't want to get trapped, obviously. And the good thing about our viewers here right now is I would guess that the overwhelming majority of them right now, this isn't going to be the story a year from now, probably. But you guys already round tripped. You've suffered in a bear market. You've bought the top. It hurts bad. You've made the mistakes and stuff like that. So you're likely not going to do that again, And if you do, it'll be by choice. You'll be able to say, I want to leave some of this on top for next time around. I don't want to scale 100% out of the market, whatever, And in this little DeFi utopia that we may have, you may never have to leave like Hotel California. You can sit there and, yield farm on your stables, yield farm on whatever you want. I mean, I'm buying all day. Hex Girl is too. So
Yep. And I'm staked for 15 years. I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm definitely not getting out 100%. There is no way to do that without taking some severe penalties. So, I'm here for long term, and I hope many of you guys are too. Once this ecosystem gets built and built out properly, man, we're all future millionaires in my eyes. So, stick with it. DCA. Have conviction and belief, and it will pay out for us.
Yep, I 100% agree. So appreciate all you guys tonight. I would love to shout out every single person in the chat, but there's been too many tonight. Hex Girl, Destroyer, Viper Styles, Mr. Chinks, Vanilla the Hexagon, Joffus, NJ Dub, Ash. Let's see here.
Crypto Stylist is here for the first time in a while. We haven't seen her in a while. So
okay. Hex Fetty, Rocket Mob, Oliver. I'm going way back here. Checks My Pulse obviously was here. Olivier, Icelander. You had some great posts. Daddy Hexler, hadn't seen you in a while until tonight. So really appreciate all of you guys. We do this obviously usually every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back next Wednesday. Probably have a couple of reschedules at the end of December with Christmas and stuff like that happening. But appreciate you guys being along for the ride. Wouldn't rather do it with anybody else. So for Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boy Crypto. We'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.
See y'all. Happy Thanksgiving.